Cool. Hi, guys. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Elevated Lifestyle Lab. You're here with George Riccitelli and myself, Alex Wyrick. We are bringing in a guest that I've met a few years back. I've been talking to him for the past 6-8 months that I was going to start this podcast, and it only felt right to have him as one of my first guests. I feel like he's got a lot to share with us. He's had a lot of ups and downs, and I feel like he can share a good word. And without further ado, his name is Jimmy King. He's with Atlantic Pacific Insurance.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
We're happy to have you here. As we talked a little bit, we had a pre-interview that just kind of went over what we would like to get out of the podcast in general in itself, and I feel like you have a lot to give back. I feel like we went over your story a little bit, where you came from and what you went through as a younger adult, and then everything from there until now. And I feel like it's a good story. I feel like it could help some people out there, and hopefully me and George can make it happen. Pull it all out of you.
See if we can ask the right questions.
Sure.
Awesome.
So, why don't you maybe start with, kind of a little bit of background about you and kind of where your life had some pitfalls, and then we can kind of maybe dive into a few of those.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. So, third generation Floridian, kind of grew up blue collar family. Kind of moved around a little bit, lived in some good areas, lived in some bad areas. So had a lot of different types of friends growing up, and never felt like we didn't have anything. Always definitely saw people that had more, but just felt like we lived a pretty good life. So got to go on the water a lot. Got to spend a lot of my time as a kid, down in the Keys, and just living up this paradise that we live in. So yeah. So grew up, my dad was a contractor, so I grew up on the job site, and I think that's probably where I learned how to put in a solid day's work. I looked at him Monday to Saturday, got up early when the sun was coming up, and there was days, when I worked for him in the summers when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, where we didn't come home till the sun was already down. So I think that definitely moved into my adult life.
That can be late here in Florida, too, like 9 o'clock.
It can be. Yeah. You don't know work until you're standing in a house to the headlights of a van.
Sure.
So I was, growing up, went to school for psychology, and had my cool construction, company on the side, a little small crew, and then got invited to go take a look at a finance company. And that's what kind of moved me out of working on the job site and where I'm at today, I guess. That was the beginning stage of it.
Awesome, man. What got you into finance? Just from working with your dad and all the interests that entail in the contracting business kind of led you that way? Or
no,
you wanted to get out of the heat and get behind?
No, I always thought I was going to be a GC.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be, when I was 40 years old, I'd be building homes. That was always my dream. And then went to a seminar where they were teaching people how to become, mortgage broker. You got your Series 6, life insurance, all that stuff. I said, I don't think I can do that. I know where I belong. However, if I could just learn what they're teaching other people, use money every day.
Sure.
So jumped in part-time doing that, and a year and a half later, got out of construction completely and went full-time 2 years after starting. So
nice. Well, you had a big incident in the middle of that with falling out of a tree that I recall.
Yeah, that's a little bit later, but yeah. I some other incidents, but apparently with my life, they happen in threes.
Sure. Back to back.
Yeah. Apparently, someone upstairs says, I don't know if he heard me when I told him the first time. But no, yeah, so I got out of finance and, started getting into insurance, and then... you kind of brought it up. I had a pretty major thing. December 30th in 2003. I was was lucky enough to go to a Tony Robbins event. Unleash the Power Within.
Oh, cool. The weekend thing, right?
Yeah, it was a 4-day, about 3 months before my fall. And walked across fire, did all that stuff. And it was intriguing. It was being a psychology major, it spoke to me. And then fast forward 3 months later, you wake up in a hospital and they say you're never going to walk again. So I was able to very quickly put some of the techniques that he was teaching people into into real
Staying
life
alive,
experiences.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. You had told us a story about kind of your interaction with the doctors and what your approach to the whole
My
situation
philosophy.
was.
Yeah, I mean, it was, once I got up to a place where, because I was on my back for probably a good solid month and a half, but once I could kind of get up and get moving a little bit, one of the things that me and the doctor had, just kind of a pat, I said, look, you do your job, I'll do mine. He's like, well, what do you mean by that? I said, my job is to keep a good attitude and stay positive. If I don't, if I have to know about what you're doing, a procedure, something that needs my feedback, fine, let me know. Everything else, just you come in, you look at me, you let me do my thing. And there's a few times with some nurses where they were about to say, hey, we're about to do this. I looked at him and I'm like, do I need to know? And he's like, no, he doesn't need to know. And of course the lights come on, the masks go on, they're prepping me. And I'm like, maybe I do need to know.
Wait.
Yeah, we need a safe word.
Well, I'll tell you, we had spoken last week, and you told us a little bit about yourself. And I was at a party Saturday, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a nurse, and I kind of told him a little bit about what you said because I kind of hit home when you said, listen, just tell me, be positive, tell me what I need to know. I don't want to hear all the negative. I don't want you to tell anybody else like what's going on so they're feeling sorry or anything like that. And he said that's a huge thing. He said he notices all the time people who go in that are into surgeries and have health issues that are positive, they usually come out positive. Mm-hmm. They heal quicker, that sort of thing. But the people who go in with a negative attitude, like I'm the victim here, I'm never going to do this again, or I'm always going to be sick, I'm going to be bedridden. Those are the people that are always bedridden.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to quantify like how much it really does. I mean, there's no machine you can plug in that figures out the positivity and what type of effect it had in those moments. But it doesn't hurt. And the other thing too that I think I did it out of accident. Just one of the times the nurses, because when they first sit you up, a lot of people get sick because your equilibrium's off because you've been laying down for so long. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I want to walk. And she said, well, we really don't recommend it. I said, well, have you ever let anybody do it? And she said, well, yeah. Well, that became my mantra. With my doctors, nurses, anybody. I'm like, have you ever let someone do it? And if they said yes, I'm like, well, then I'm going to do it. And so that was something that I just, and I think some of that was a little bit of what I had learned through Tony Robbins. And then also, I didn't want my fall to define me. I didn't want that to be, it's always going to be a part of me, but it wasn't going to be the only part. It was going to be a piece on this lifeline, my timeline that was going to be a huge part, but I wasn't going to be the guy with the broken back.
Sure.
So your original prognosis was that they didn't think you were going to be able to walk again?
Yeah, they thought I was paralyzed. Yeah. So when I told them that I could feel my legs, they said, well, that's called ghost pains. They said that your brain remembers what your legs feel like. And I said, no, I really do think that I can feel them. So they ran through a few tests, very archaic. Pull up a sheet, take a needle, poke a bunch of places. We think he feels his legs. So when I fell about 25 feet, and I shattered my L1, and I was lucky enough that it shattered away from my spine. Ugh. So when they're looking at these X-rays, they're saying, there's no way that it didn't have any type of laceration, any type of long-term effect. And sure enough, I was good. So patched up my elbow, got my back where it needed to be. And I remember it's kind of interesting how we've gotten to know each other, like going through doing a lot of these adventure races. The first thing I told my mom, I said, go get me a pair of running shoes. I'm not even walking yet. And she's pushing me around a wheelchair and still on the floor. And so she went and got a pair of running shoes. So I would kind of make my track around my floor, eventually started leaving the floor, but I'd get in trouble quite a bit because they have a certain protocol of what time you're supposed to be able to. They're like, you've just got moving up. Like, you should not, we can't find you downstairs, like trying to do a pull up in a tree, especially when my biceps were as big as my forearms. But yeah, it was just that that desire to get out. And then that's when I told my mom I was going to run a triathlon. I said, I want to be a triathlete.
Well, it sounds like a lot of that came from you were into sports at a younger age as well, too, right?
I was.
You've always been competitive. I see that in you a little bit.
Yeah, I've always been pretty competitive.
Sure.
And it's hard to say. I mean, it's I think that we are born with certain characteristics. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
For sure.
And then some life experiences will either help that flourish or take it away. And I was very lucky that the company that I joined up with was huge into self-improvement. So for probably the 2-3 years leading up to this, I mean, reading books, listening to tapes. I mean, I was all in. So
Definitely helped, I'm sure.
I think it did.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like at some point during this, like right after this happened, maybe you were laid in the hospital. Like what did it kind of take to kind of put this in perspective and get that type of outlook on things? Because I don't think that comes to you naturally. I think that's something that, or maybe it does, and maybe it's something that it's just instilled in you that you don't give up, or you're just gonna fight.
Yeah.
But I think at some point, like, I mean, when anybody gets hurt or something like that, they're a little bit scared. They're a little bit not sure of their situation, and you get kind of down on yourself a little bit.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's I left home at a very young age. So when I was not even 19 years old, left home. So for me to then have to go back and live with my mom,
it's never fun.
It's never fun, And then
I've been there.
and then so probably about a month after being home, I got staph. I got staph in the hospital, so they had to open me back up. And
For people that don't know, when I first met you, I saw you in the locker room, and I was like, with your shirt off, but I'm like, man, that is a gnarly scar you got in your back. It's like 2 feet long, man.
Well, they
that
say
thing
chicks
is,
still dig scars.
that thing is huge.
I was a ladies' man.
You wouldn't think you'd be walking looking at that thing, man. You got attacked by a Wolverine or something.
And now I am Wolverine.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, there was times where it was tough. I think the toughest part is when I did get staph, because I had to go back in the hospital. And they said, if we can't clear this up, we have to take it all out. And I know I wasn't a carpenter by trade, but I knew when you put a screw into a piece of wood and then try to take it back out, well, what it has left, you don't want to try to then put a screw back in that area. And if you see my X-rays, there's multiple hooks, screws that are long going down my entire vertebrae. I have eight that are fused. I knew that was not good hearing that. That was the first time that I really was scared. So I called a couple guys that I'd worked with, and they came in. I said, look, what do I need to do? And we came up with this vision of me, almost like if you can think of like the Terminator movie, like the exoskeleton. And I was just visualizing that the antibiotics were like washing the staph away. And I did that every day. Probably, I had nothing else to do, so hours and hours a day. And so for 6 weeks, I was hooked up 24 hours a day to antibiotics. And thank God the antibiotics worked, and off I was. So, yeah, so there was definitely moments where, it was tested. I don't want to sit here and say that, everything was all great. But I literally, the day before I fell, had run about 4 or 5 miles, and then they say you're never going to walk again. So it was, there was moments that were tough, but had good family and friends around. And I think that once again, going back to, are you born with it? Is it something that that you just push through? I think that there's been times where I just said, I don't even know if it's possible. I'm just going to keep moving forward, and whatever it looks like at the end, I'll just deal with it. But right now, I can't deal with it. So, and there's been probably two or three.
Sometimes, that applies to all aspects of life, and a lot of people they need that. Alex and I were talking, like on our last podcast, about that inner voice that says you can't or you can, or you have to kind of shut that voice up, and your body is capable of a whole lot more than your mind allows it to be. And I think that's some of that too. Is you have
That
to.
voice can be loud.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had it under control. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've listened to, just recently in the past year, I mentioned the one guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's like a neuroscience guy. And it's a similar kind of story. He broke his back, and instead of having surgery, he kind of, like you said with the antibiotics, he envisioned like him healing, and he did that almost word for word. Kind of did that for hours a day until it's kind of worked. And I think there's more. I was telling George the other night, it's more than like a placebo effect. Like I really think there's something to it. I mean, if you're sitting around and you're kicking the bucket all day, like that's what you're going to get. But if you're actually putting forth that effort, I think that goes a long way. I think you had it nailed down early.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again, it's hard to quantify like exactly how much.
Sure.
But I came from a place of look, I've got one job. I can't get back there and work on my own back. My job is going to push the nurses to a point where I'm not being. I don't want to. I want to be safe. I don't want to be risky to the point where they're saying, "Hey, you absolutely cannot do this." But I'm going to push their viewpoint and limitations that they're placing on me. To the point that I just can't do it. So was able to get back to work, and it was interesting too because there was moments where I chose to use it to I wanted people to see what it was like when you push the excuses out. So one of the schools, we used to do these big schools. I mean, I used to do it myself. I used to run across stage and do these huge schools where I'd speak at in finance, and I said, I want to go to it. I couldn't even really walk yet because I could only be really moving and walking or even be upright for certain periods of time. And I said, my buddy Bill goes, well, I'll take you, but how are we going to get you there? I'm like, bring me in a wheelchair. I remember being in there, being wheeled up, 145 pounds, the back of the room, and my VP at the time goes, all your people, all the excuses that they gave, and I'm like, I knew he was going to use me, and I was okay. And that was the point. Like, I wanted him to use that moment because I was tired. I mean, I was only there an hour, and I said, okay, I got to go. But it was more of I wanted, their people, them to see if you really want it, then no matter what it takes, even if it takes you getting in a wheelchair and having your buddy push you to the school, you go.
Well, it seems like you've kept that with you ever since because from there you started your own insurance company and then a lot of times passed since then. But it seems like I just kind of know the more recent story of you merging with a larger company, but it sounds like you kind of hit the ground running, started your own thing and was very successful at that, right?
Yeah, it was good. It was so left that company. The big thing for us was that we said we were 100% commission based. And we're all about really servicing the client. So when your money's depleted, because my family, they voluntarily repossessed my truck, I was never going to walk again. So leaving the hospital and not having anything, I said, look, I need a job. Like I can't go work 100% commission. So went to work for State Farm. Decided, I think I'm going to move towards property and casualty. And that's what I did. And there was some amazing moments. I mean, my first car leaving the hospital was $800. It was a Ford Tempo.
Nice.
And my buddy's like, you need to tint the windows. I'm like, no. I want them to see me in this thing. And no, because I want it out of it. Like I'm like motivation. If I tint the windows, I might drive this thing too long.
Hiding in it, yeah.
So I had about 3 months, sold that, got a Mitsubishi Galant for 6 months, and I just kept moving
slowly
up.
On up.
So started my company in April 1st of 2008.
Okay.
So, but yeah, everything was good. But yeah, I think with the podcast, I think you guys are talking about like ups and downs. I don't want to always talk about the negative, but obviously there's a lot.
Can't get to the positive without the negative. So yeah.
And I think too, people who everything's going well for them, maybe they don't need these types of talks, but the folks where maybe they're in that moment where they're going through hell or they're their life is kind of tore up. I think those people who really need that word of inspiration. But
absolutely.
But yeah, so it was April 1st. Started the company. About 3 weeks later, my wife asked me. I was married at the time. Asked me, "Hey, I don't think this is working out." And this was a week after my dad committed suicide.
Wow.
So there was, I felt like it was, wow, okay, here's another
kick to the nuts.
Another obstacle. We can call it kick to the nuts.
Yeah.
That one was, I think that one might have been harder. That one I think might have been a little bit harder. But once again, you can fall, and that was something that one of my managers said. Look, you can fall, but you still got to get up at some point. So went through that whole period. Company started to take off, and I dove into my work. I mean, I did. I just said, I can't handle all this going on right now. I mean, that's a lot of times you see people will
It's kind of your outlet. It's a place for you to get away and not have to think about it.
I mean, some people will look to their religion. Some people will look to the weights. Some people will turn to a bottle. So it's really
a lot of avenues. Yeah.
What are you going to choose to pour your time and and your energy into? So that's what I did.
That's takes a lot of will to get through all that. I mean, it's a lot of strength, the inner strength, and it's. I think along the lines where you're talking about. I mean, some of your examples have been to the extreme, but I think just what people can kind of take out of this, just in everyday life, is that you're stronger than you think you are, and you're going to make it through the other side. And you just have to kind of push yourself and just get yourself there. And do everything you possibly can do to succeed and to get yourself better or to make it in business or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been lucky too, where I have some really good friends of mine, I have some mentors. My mom has always been my rock. And then starting out when we started our company, I met my wife, and she's, there's been some pivotal decisions that have had to be made. And you think about it, it's like, okay, so you can either have people in your life that are positive, inspirational, helping, or you can have people that just, suck everything out of you.
Suck it all out, yeah.
So you got to choose. And it's fun to hang out with those guys on Saturday night or, and do all that stuff. But if you don't have positive influences in your world in those moments,
sure.
Then what do you do? What do you?
We actually talked about that in our
Yeah.
podcast as well. Like last week, we talked about kind of like some of the friends we used to hang out with and stuff like that. And I just mentioned that like Alex started on this kind of new transition and into working out and healthier life and that sort of thing. And we used to play golf together all the time. And I mean, all of a sudden, we didn't see Alex for like 2 or 3 months. And part of it is, I mean, I remember him telling me this. He's like, I had to get rid of the toxic people in my life. I had to kind of like step back, think about like what's good for me, my family, my kids, and make some changes in my life. And he did. I mean, it's not that we were doing anything bad or anything like that. It's just that he decided to surround himself with more positive thinking, positive minded people, and people that are going to benefit him, and he can hopefully benefit their lives as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we kind of hit it off, Jimmy, is because we originally met in the gym, and then I just, by chance, saw you at a Tony Robbins event about a year ago, and that's kind of where it's like, all right, this guy's kind of, he's thinking like I'm thinking, so that's kind of where we hit it off, and that's probably around that time, it's probably been about a year ago, is when I was trying to making that shift, I was shifting my life, really, with everything. And George is right. It really, who you put yourself around, that's who you turn into.
No, absolutely.
So it's a necessity to, like we were talking about, just to really, especially with the way we're going, and we're wanting to do new things, new podcasts. We're trying to do all this stuff. It really helps, just in life in general too, to have those positive, solid, mentorish type people in your life. It really goes a long way.
Yeah, I think I heard just 2-3 weeks ago. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Like, you want to put yourself around people that
absolutely
that push you. And
even in sports or anything like that, you don't want to be the best person all the time. You always want to have people that are better than you that you're competing against, because it makes you better.
Yeah, no, my sister, I mean, she, going into her freshman year of high school, all-star softball player, they had just won state the year before, and all the girls were returning. So my sister, phenomenal softball player, she's like, well, what should I do? Should I go ride the bench, or should I go in the JV? I said, well, JV, what are you going to learn? She's like, well, I'm going to be another coach. This is a team that just won state, and all the girls are all sophomores and juniors, and they all return. I said, think about the player you will be at the end of this season if you go and you ride that bench with an all-star freaking state-winning team. Go ride the bench.
Sure.
Do that.
If you take advantage of it, listen to what they're saying, watch what they're doing, absolutely. Yeah. The positivity, the energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going to push you. And, of course, she was lead off in right field first game of the season.
Oh,
so
cool.
she was able to step up. But
you never know. You
It
see?
makes you elevate your game.
Yeah,
Gotta
man, that's
elevate your
cool.
game.
Yeah, elevate that life, baby.
Got to elevate your game. Yeah.
Now, Alex had told me that you did the whole the Tony Robbins course.
Mm-hmm.
How much would you say that has kind of influenced you?
I've done a couple of
and
them now, right?
And kind of just the way you go about your business, and I mean, whether it was part of your recovery or any of the other like trials and tribulations you've gone through your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I got into psychology, so I came from a pretty broken family. Even though I said I didn't really ever not have anything, but it was pretty abusive. My dad, was pretty interesting guy. And I remember sitting down at 11, 12 years old wanting to teach them how to be able to talk. And I always had that in me where I'm like, the whole psychology part of why people can't communicate, this and that. So the self-improvement part of it, that just seemed so realistic to me. Where I had heard some time ago that we're human becomings, not human beings, and that we're always on this mission to grow and get better. And I always looked at myself as not the smartest guy. However, I'm going to outwork and I'm going to learn this subject, whatever it is, so much more than the other guy who's so much smarter. I'm just going to pour the time in. So I would just dive into books, even my truck now. I'm turned my vehicle into a university, and I think it's important. I think that not everyone has had the ability through their life to go through the best schools and have the best influence from their parents and have that one uncle that took them under their wing and helped them start business. So for most of us, it's on us. And if we don't have the tools that we need to be successful, then we got to go out there and find them. So it's I've always been going down that journey where what's the next book, what's the next Now I do enjoy going to the schools, like a Tony Robbins event, just because of the energy, and it's a lot easier for me to absorb that being an ADD kind of visual person. If someone's running around stage, I can get 4 days of a seminar in where normally a book's going to take me about 3 months. So, but I love those events.
Yeah. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks and stuff like that?
I do.
You mentioned you turn your truck into a university. I'm assuming you mean when you're driving, you listen to everything. And
I do. And some of it's for pleasure. I mean, some of the podcasts, it's just more, brain candy. Like I now, through Joe Rogan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I come home one day, I'm like talking about astrophysics, and my wife's like, God, what are you into now?
Go deep.
Oh, it is. It's like, he's right. It's it's always expanding, and my wife's like, oh, good Lord. And so I do jump around a little bit. If they have a book on how to stay focused on subjects, I'll read that one too.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of the same way. I just whatever I'm feeling at that time, I'll just type in the search field for a podcast or whatever the case is, and just listen to that for a while, and then maybe jump to another topic or something along those lines. I mean, just to just kind of keep things.
Yeah.
I like to learn new things. Like
Absolutely.
today, I learned what red light therapy is, and
I don't know what
No,
that
you
is.
haven't heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's 3 things I've learned since I've been
More to come.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Well, I think we're gonna have a whole show on that one. That's
You're going to go try it out tomorrow, right?
yeah, I'm gonna try it tomorrow. There's a place
I
locally
mean,
here
there's a
that has
district in
it.
Europe somewhere. We're not talking about that, right? No. Okay, this is science. All right.
Yeah. Form of like biohacking, I guess they call it. They
Yeah.
reference it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's supposed to help with inflammation, recovery,
Oh, well,
skin, a whole bunch of different things. And there's all kinds of research on it that is positive. And from what I've found and listening to a few different people talk about it, there's zero negative to it. So, and you don't find too many things that have zero negatives.
No, there's usually, there's always going to be. That's like the running thing. My relationship with my doctor has been an amazing one. And
He probably doesn't approve of anything that you do.
No, and this is what I love about him because now I'll back up a little bit. So where I was very lucky is that very few orthopedic surgeons are used to fusing 8 discs. Now he was pediatric, so because of MS and other things, other spinal issues that children deal with, he was very aware and very experienced in that field. So when I showed up at the hospital, he just happened to be on call. So the funny thing is a couple of years after I got out, me walking into his office, and the women are like, "Oh, look, you're all grown up." I'm like, "Oh no, he's always worked on me when I've been this big." So, but when I started getting into the races and everything, and of course my mom absolutely did not approve, and I went to him. I said, "Look, tell me what I need to do. Like I'm gonna do them. So." Tell me like the things I should really watch out for, things I shouldn't. He's like, okay, well,
Electrical wires hanging in water.
Yeah, we never got into
Stuff like
that.
that.
We never got into that part of it. It was more of, he said, well, the worst thing you could do on your spine is drop from an elevated position, and it's that sudden stop. So you may notice it now if we run again. When I go over a wall, I lower myself down. So the worst thing, so he's always telling me these things to do. And over the years, he's seen me keep the weight off, look, and move around better than most of his patients. So he's always said, look, yeah, the negative part of it, the running and all this stuff, I wish you didn't have to do that to keep your movement and flexibility and the weight off. However, the positives
Outweigh the negative.
far outweigh.
Sure.
Far outweigh. So, and when I did the what was it? The 3 races in 2000.
The trifecta.
The trifecta.
Uh-huh.
In 2014, I actually put all 3 medals going backwards, so you could see my scar, and took a photo.
Oh,
and,
cool.
and sent it to him.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So it was more of thank you. But yeah, it's most things that we do in our life. There's going to be some negative aspect to it, but you just have to outweigh it.
Aside from when you are like maybe in a race and you're doing stuff like that, so do you have any like residual pain from the surgeries or anything? Like, do you have like chronic like arthritis or anything like that?
No,
in your back,
not arthritis. My wife, when we first met, maybe a year or two, into it, she's like, "So is it hurt right now?" And I'm like, "So it always hurts." So it's just always there. Now it's not chronic where it's like pain running down my leg. Like I feel for people that deal with that, but
Yeah.
it's a dulling pain that is always there. My right hip, it's always there. But I've got metal in my back. I've got things that are in my body that I was not born with. I mean, there has to be a certain expectation of what your life's going to be
Sure.
after you go through something like that. Or, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a major injury. It could be someone played football for 4 years and they're complaining about how their body is. It's like, look, you talk about that it was the most amazing time of your life, these 4 years you played football. Okay, so you're a little banged up. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Would you give it up? Well, no. Well, then stop complaining about it.
Sure.
It is what it is. I'm walking, I'm moving around, got some dulling pain. Every now and then it hurts more. Now, 10 years from now, when you guys are huge and I go visit you in L.A. and do your podcast, I may have a different opinion. I may have more pains then, but for right now, no. It's more than manageable.
Well, we're gonna have all the cool stuff. We're gonna have the float tank for you sitting an hour. Then the
Hey.
cryotherapy. Did I mention I went and tried the cryo finally?
No.
Nothing negative about it, but I thought it was going to be a little more.
Okay.
You did a 3-minute like sit in,
Okay.
and I feel like from like maybe rib cage down got super cold. Like my legs got really cold, but everything else upwards. I mean, it was cold, but it wasn't. I'm comparing my feeling to an ice bath because it's like the same. It's supposed to be the same, but I feel like definitely if you can bite your tongue and get in an ice bath for 5 minutes, the outcome
I think it'd be about the same.
it'd be way better. The ice bath.
I've never done cryo, but I can honestly say that ice bath is the most excruciating pain that I've ever had.
But then most rewarding when you get out and
Yeah.
it's
It is.
It's one of those things like you were saying.
I'm
Like you're
looking
gonna
at
have a
his
little
face.
pain.
I don't think he agrees with you.
well, when you get out, sure, you feel like you can't
Exhilarated.
move,
Yeah.
and you're just like freezing. And,
Yeah.
But it does work on your muscles.
inflammation,
It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
it helps. But yeah, that initial like minute or two when you get in, and then that's like kind of shocks you, and then the pain really sets in after about like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, because I think you're only supposed to do it for a couple minutes at a time. The ice bath. Is that true?
Yeah. But, well, I think it depends.
We used to do it for like, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes.
Did you have an older brother?
Yeah. What's that?
Did you have an older brother? Was he not being nice to you? Like,
No.
holding you in there.
Don't tell mom.
We were,
Just-
we were even looking at just like big plastic tubs that we could buy to do our own ice bath. So we found one. We might end up getting one and add that to our 30-day protocol of some sort. Just throw it in their ice bath each day or something.
Now,
Well,
you
the
do,
Wim-
you
the
do
Wim
realize
Hof-
people think we're crazy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
just,
Yeah,
okay,
for
just
sure.
So we're, all right, 'cause I'm
Well, that's,
totally
that's
aware
part
of it.
That's part of the excitement of doing doing this is like we're trying different things. It's almost
Yeah.
like a laboratory where we're trying different things to see what the effects are.
Sure.
And we can tell people about it, and like we're trying it out ourselves. And I mean everything from diet to working out to breathing to we're gonna try red light therapy, cryo. I mean we're gonna get into the biohacking and some of the other things we talked about.
You're going to have to update us on you got a coming up challenge you're going to do with yourself at the end of the month,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about that. What was just briefly? What's that? The 75
the
day?
75 hard.
Yeah.
So it's I think the thing that intrigued me the most was that it wasn't just a diet. That it also was more about just building mental strength, I'm always looking for that next challenge. I guess
Sure.
I have enough at work, so I think that you look at guys like Tim Ferriss, and they say that sometimes you got to get out of your head and get physical. So I'm always looking for that next physical challenge outside of what I'm dealing with, the office and our business. And so 75 hard is workout twice a day. One of them's got to be outside, minimum 45 minutes. No alcohol. That's going to be a tough one. Read 10 pages a day, drink a gallon of water, and you do this for 75
And
days.
clean eating. Yeah.
It's all
And
clean eating.
Yep. That's good though. That can be your everyday life. That's going to turn from 75 hard to every day.
It can. So I mean, I
minus
think,
the alcohol part.
Oh yeah.
And the alcohol part is being the kind of person that me and my wife are. We love being around friends and family and going on vacations, and there's always something coming up, and there's always there's a birthday, or next thing you know, like people are saying, hey, do you want to go down the Keys for 3-4 days? So that is, yes, I mean, one of my favorite things to do as a human being is go fishing or diving for about 4 or 5 hours, slide up to some beach, let the kids play, make a Captain and Coke while we sit there and cook fish right on the grill on the boat.
Fresh.
That's just, I'm in my happy
You
place.
can't beat that.
That's my happy place.
Absolutely.
So there's not much physical,
I
things
agree.
that are ongoing there, but
Yeah.
it's more of my get back to neutral. So
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So you've mentioned your wife a few times. Why don't
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about your family life and some of the things that you have going on there?
Okay. Yep. So I met my wife was right after I started the company. She came to work for me very quickly. She became a partner in my company, which my attorney said was a bad idea. So to this day, he is wrong. She was awesome. She was my rock when things weren't going all that great. She's a big part of why we had success in our company. So we met in July. We got married the following June because we engaged in December, so it was pretty quickly. We knew we wanted a family, and we were kind of late to the party. We both had previous marriages. My wife lost her husband to cancer, melanoma, so she moved back down here, and that's when we met. So we knew we wanted a family. So we were, hey, we know this is what we want. Let's get on the train, and so started trying to have kids pretty, right away. That was a struggle. It was, spent a ton of money, a lot of time, a lot of tears, trying to have little people. Just wasn't in the cards. So I actually had a buddy of mine, and I don't know if I shared this with you guys. We were going through with all these doctors. Well, we've never seen this happen. We've never seen this happen. We've never seen this because we're going donors. Like we had really progressed to the point where we're using donor eggs and trying to utilize all of what technology and medicine had to offer. And so a buddy of mine said, look, he goes, come out to dinner with me and my wife. We went out to dinner, and he's like, well, you should try maybe fostering. And they were foster parents and adoption parents for years. From that moment to the time we had 2 little girls coming to our doorstep was about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Not supposed to
pretty
happen that fast.
No 9 months. No nothing.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to say that. Even when you have your own child, 9 months to prepare. I'm like, I haven't had a boys trip. I haven't been to Vegas. Like, I got a baby at the doorstep. Yeah, so we got into fostering, became foster parents, had 2 little girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were amazing. Actually, we were just talking about them this weekend. So we had them for about 8.5 months. They
Well,
went
just tell our
back-
listeners, just give them a quick idea, because I know me and George were kind of clueless on the difference of fostering and adoption, but kind of the process of that's really the first step of getting to adoption, if you even can get there, is fostering, right?
Well, no. I mean,
no.
so you don't have to become a foster
Okay.
parent. If you want to adopt, you can just adopt.
Okay.
So fostering is saying, there's a ton of children that still right now need a place to call home. So a foster parent goes through courses, and you basically become an arm of the state, and you just care for these kids. So rather
okay.
than going into some type of
Group home
group
type
home
setup? Yeah.
or a bad place, you basically just take them in and you just love on them for as long as they're there with you.
Oh, that's great.
Now, some people, like my wife and I, did want a family, but that's kind of a side note. So it's you have to be ready for foster. If you become a foster parent, that these children will come in, you'll love on them, you'll fall in love with them, and then they will leave. So if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's got to be the really hard part. I mean,
Yeah.
that just because you become attached to them, and I mean, it's got to be really difficult.
It is. I remember it was a Saturday morning, and I woke up, and after the girls left, and they left the week before Christmas. That did not make it easier.
Wow.
So we had our own Christmas, though. We were able to do that and have some closure there. That Saturday, it was a Saturday after they left. I was tying my shoes to go to the gym, and I was being really, really quiet. And I realized, oh, wait, they're not here. And it was the same emotion that I felt the first time I went to pick up the phone to call my dad, and forgetting that he had passed.
Wow.
So I really came to grips with at that time that it's a mourning period. Like you had someone in your world that you loved, and now they're not here. So whether it's a girlfriend that left and moved across the country, a family member who passed away, or these 2 little people who are now somewhere, but you don't know where. But so that piece of your heart is now gone.
Now,
So-
when the girls that you fostered, did they go to somebody that was adopting them, or what was the situation? Why did they leave?
So the parents in the fostering system, they know the system. So in our case, the mom figured out a way to have a family member take them, and then she probably after 6 months, came back and
Got them back.
Look, the good thing is that they're out of the system. Hopefully, they're in a good place. If they ever do go back into the system, we get the first phone call.
Oh.
So my wife and I talk about that periodically. We're both prepared for when that
Sure.
or if that day comes. It is a tough thing to especially when it's a child.
How old were the girls?
They were 1.5 and 2.5 when they first
Wow.
came to us. Yeah. So talk about like reading books and stuff. I mean, I was leading, child growth development and sociology and all this stuff.
Did you get through them? You reading them? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going through them, and all of a sudden these 2 little girls show up. I'm like, oh crap! I don't know how to change a diaper.
You had to learn on the fly.
Yeah,
I know,
hands
learn
on,
the
trial
fly.
by fire.
Yeah.
But so the funniest part about going through our foster class, there's probably about 20 couples in this class, and I'm as ignorant as they come, when it comes to that whole aspect of parenting. I raised my hand, and I said to the woman, I said, look, I go, is it okay if a girl comes into my home and I don't feel comfortable bathing her, can I just have her wear a bathing suit? Because, I mean, you think about it. This is a child. It's not yours. 3, 4, 5. I'm
Right.
thinking in my head 7, 8. No clue. They take care of themselves at that age. That's just how ignorant I am. So I had a lot to learn. So I said, is that okay? And she goes, sure. Well, whatever you need to do, that's fine. Then I changed my first diaper. If that is not an invasion of privacy,
Yeah.
bathing is nothing. So,
Sure.
and I knew. I'm like, she knew I'd figure this out once I changed my first diaper. And
Yeah.
But it was just funny how, we just, we knew there was a need. We knew we'd figure it out. And it wasn't a good time. It's never a good time. We were just bought a house and we were gutting it. So here we bring these 2 little girls in. So they were amazing. And then, like I said, they left. So we took off. We went to Georgia, and then we get the phone call. Hey, we have a sibling group. Are you interested? And that's where my whole parenting becoming a parent full time kind of came about. So, but yeah, we had a little boy and girl that they said, look, we think it's fostering, but we think this is a possible adoption situation. Would you be interested?
So basically you took them in to foster them first to kind of give it a trial to see if they like you like kind of it was going to like a situation was going to work out.
Yeah.
And at that point, then you move on to the adoption phase.
We did. So my son, so he's emotional intelligence. I mean, he's pretty high up there. He's a pretty bright little kid, and we didn't know that his foster parents talked to him about everything, about how it all works and this and that. So the first time we meet him, we're just going to go to a park, and we go to a park, and he kept going by and brushing by and touching my hand every time he'd run by. And I'm looking at Lisa, and she saw it. She's like, he keeps, kind of running by and touching you. And so we're like, all right, well, let's go get pizza. And he goes, well, I just want to go home. So we're kind of bummed, and we're like, well, we got to feed you. We'll get you some pizza, and then we'll go to Giuliana's. And so we had pizza, eating and everything. Like, all right, well, you said you want to go home. So we started driving him to his foster parents' home. He goes, well, why are we going there? He wanted to go home.
To your home.
So, yeah. So at 4.5, he already knew. They had already told him this is a possible adoption, that they're going to take you and your sister in, because she was in a different home. So in his mind, when he said, I want to go home, he just wanted to go to our home.
Yeah, that's got to be tough from the child's perspective, like to know that. I mean, because what happens if it didn't work out? I mean, the letdown has got to weigh on them tremendously.
Especially someone like him, like my daughter. She's just happy to be here. She's smiling. She's our love bug. But for him, I mean, at 3, he would see a couple walking by, and he used to tell his foster mom, like, "Why can't they adopt me?" Well, or he'd be driving down the road, and he'd see a house. He goes, "I'm going to live in a house like that one day." So he was very aware of what was going on. So I think with kids like that, it's got to be tough.
Absolutely.
And I think that he taught me, as tough as some of the things that I've dealt with, at least I had that family unit. Even if it was a little broken, it was still pretty
still
strong.
There. Yeah.
So I can't even imagine not even having that foundation.
Yeah, especially at that age. I mean, that's got to. I mean, at an age where you're supposed to be supported and you're supposed to be taken care of, to not have that. I mean, I guess you have it to some degree in the foster system, but not like it was your real parents or someone that's in it for the long haul with you.
Yeah, and he talks about his parents. Probably, I mean, at least once or twice a month, he'll ask about him or say, when can I see him again? And we have all intention of one day him maybe seeing his mom again. Mm-hmm. His dad, not so much, but he's a smart kid, and yeah. So it was funny though. There was times where he's like, "Dad, am I adopted yet?" And I'm like, "No, buddy, not yet." He's like, "This whole fostering thing, it takes a long time." Stuff like that. And so
how long does that process actually take?
Well, it depends. So like I said, we got very lucky because the father had lost his rights already. And when she started to see the kids, because first of all, they were in separate homes. So when we brought them in that first Saturday, we woke up early and went and we watched my daughter wake up and run across Joey. And that was the first time she can remember being under the same roof. And for 3 months, every morning she woke up. She'd say, "Where's Joey?" And she had to go watch. She had to go and see where he was at.
That's awesome.
So the mom saw the beginning of that, them happy and just the way that we had them. They were clean and not nice clothes, but just clean clothes, and they looked well put together. Mm-hmm. So the mom said, "Well, I'd like to meet this possible adoption family," and I'm like, put my wife in front of somebody? I'm like, I'll take that bet. So I'm like, absolutely. And of course, I was very strategic on how we met. I had to protect not just my wife and the kids, but just make sure that it was a smart decision. And Elisa, my wife, brought a bunch of photos, handed them over to the mom, and said, "This is." It was just so happened it was like Easter, and I want to say it might have been Valentine's Day and Easter had just passed. So she gave her a bunch of photos of the kids and different stuff and said, "No, that's for you to have." And there was a lot of crying and hugging amongst us. And the next day she signed over and gave up her rights. So it doesn't happen often. The attorney said she doesn't remember the last time that's happened.
It was that quick?
Yeah. So it's one of those things when you think you're going the path that you should be going down, and you're hitting obstacle and obstacle and obstacle, and then all of a sudden all you do is slightly change the direction of the path of your life, and all of a sudden it's like a freight train, and that's where we really felt like, okay, someone, some higher being is saying that this is what I have planned for you, and it just took off.
I mean, your life was altered, but imagine what the kids feel.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's got to be unbelievable feeling that now they finally have a permanent home and somewhere they can grow up and learn and have family and the things that they probably always dreamed about.
Yeah, and the mom, that was one of the things that kind of hit me, is she said that it's not fair that my kids have to live this. They should be being kids right now. And I think that sometimes people on the outside, you look at a mom or dad that can't get their stuff together to keep their children. She loved those kids. I mean, she was making a comment that if this was 30 years ago and the state showed up to pull me out of my house, my dad would have met him with a shotgun at the door.
Yeah.
So you're talking about an old school family, probably a lot of good people there, and she just, for whether it's drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, sometimes these folks can't keep it together. And I think, I look at it differently now. I think when I pass by and I see like maybe a homeless person or someone, you remember some of them could have come up in a good home. However, because of their life decisions, something's got a hold of them that they can't get out of the grip of it. And that's,
it's just great that she was able to see past her own needs to give for the betterment of the kids, and that's very rare.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Just in people in general. Most people are always looking out for themselves.
Would I don't know. If I really felt like I was going through a hard time and I thought that the government or the state was in the wrong, like at what point would I let go? I don't know. And so for her to be able to look at it and say, you know what, I see this family, I see my children in this atmosphere, and we did we told her, say, look, we're not going to paint you out of this picture. So we kept an email where we do communicate from time to time, and hopefully one day she'll be ready, or the kids will be old enough where we can allow them to see her again. But they needed this time away first.
So that's pretty. It's a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What how are the kids adjusting to everything? Are they just excelling, or
all the problems that you deal with every other kid? Yeah, my
normal
son.
Kid problems, yeah.
So this is the funny thing. So I think that God was like, whoa, you're not getting out of this, because I was pretty, I was a kid that was high energy. Never back down from stuff, and so sometimes the bully wouldn't back down from the bully, so I've got a couple black eyes and that kind of stuff. And I always say that you're going to raise basically, your little version of yourself.
It's payback.
Yeah, it's payback.
Karma.
It's payback. Yeah. And God's like, no, you're not getting out of this one. So I'm going to take these two children and this boy. He is just like me, and my daughter is just like my wife.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome. And it's funny because there's ways I'm trying to help him. I'm like, buddy, if there's anyone in your world that is equipped to help you with this, I'm telling you, it's me.
Just an older version of you.
Yeah. And he's athlete, much better athlete than I was at that age. It'll be interesting to see, how he, But to answer your question, they're flourishing.
Good.
We got them through all the. I think that you couldn't understand my daughter when she first. We could. But other people are like, what did she just say? Because she get excited, and because she had a speech delay. He had a speech delay. I don't know if in the house, if they taught, I don't know how much interaction they had with the parents. It's probably more of in a room and that type of thing. So yeah, they're excelling now. So it's been.
How long has it been? How long have you had them?
So August will be 3 years adopted.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
adopted officially.
What are their ages now?
6 and 8.
6 and 8.
Yeah. So my daughter, she's, like I said, she's our little love bug. loves to sing and dance, although she's not all that good at it. she thoroughly
never
enjoys
know.
it. You
never
never
know.
know.
That's your Friday night entertainment, right? She just gets up.
We definitely have our dance off, pants off parties on
For
Friday. She's a better dancer than she is a singer, and she is super cute. But she definitely tries to pull that on me. She'll give me that little look, and I'm like, no, I have cuteness kryptonite. It doesn't work on me. And then she'll walk away like I'm not getting my way.
Do you get a little karaoke set and microphone so she can just...
Oh, she has all that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The kids love that.
Yeah. So, and my son, he wants to go to movie. He's not going to college. He's already told me that. I'm going to do one or two things. I'll be a cop. I'm like, why am I be a cop? He's like, Dad, get to shoot people with tasers. So he wants to be a cop, not protect.
Yeah.
Or he wants to move to Hawaii, build a yurt, and sell stuff online and have his own business. So
He's
for
dreaming
pretty
big.
ambitious for an
hopefully for
8-year-old.
everyone in Jupiter, he goes and moves to Hawaii. And,
He's not
builds a
running around
yurt
tasing
because,
people.
yeah. In the face.
Got to get on the good side.
Yeah, so they're good kids. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to bring him to the mud race in December, right? I'm going
Oh.
to keep telling you to bring him. He's going to love it.
I know he's going to love it.
Yeah, he
And
is.
I apologize the last time he was supposed to do it, but my wife and I were, I'd say we're strict. We're
Yeah.
not super strict. But if we say something, there's
That's
no
it.
there's no going back.
Sure.
You know, and he there's a few things that he was not supposed to do, and he did them, and so we pulled him out of the mud race. So it's
Next time
learning
it's-
experience.
Yeah, motivation for him for next time.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. I mean, it's you know, it's tough because like, you know, I'd say the one thing about fostering, depending on how old they are when you get the child, you know, when they come into your world, is that you don't get enough skin on skin when they're very young. So you got to make up time. So all that time holding your baby, and there's something to skin on skin, and so trying to make up that time, there's like a balance of us trying to be intimate, loving, but then, hey, we've only had you for 2 years, and I don't know how you used to operate at the other homes, but now we got to speed this up. It's like going to boot camp, you know? And so there's a balance of, you know, being strict and letting them know, listen, these are the rules, and this is how we behave in public, and this is how we are as
A
adults
family.
and human beings, and you know, which, you know, we get those. And I think I've told you before. I think it was like 3 weeks ago at a place here in Stewart. The server came over and actually comped their desserts. Because he's like, they were looking me in the eyes. Yes, please, thank. Because we have them order their own food. Like hey, you're old enough. Look them in the
Yeah.
eyes. You order your food. Yes, please, thank you. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. And he was impressed that he actually comped, which they weren't going to get dessert that night, but I was
Because they were good.
because they were that good. Yeah. Well, we don't
They
do
get
it
it.
all the time. It's the whole
Yeah.
thing of look, you know, the best things in life are the things you don't get to do that often. You know, like the
Sure.
reason I think we talked about earlier, the reason that going to Costa Rica in a couple of weeks, why it's going to be so amazing, is I don't live in that house. So we try to do that too with them, is that, you know, if they expect dessert every night, or, you know, if they get to do all these amazing things all the time, well, it kind of takes away a little bit of when it's a treat, when it's something
Yeah, it doesn't make it special anymore.
And they're going to
When
need
it's
more
routine.
and more to be happy.
Exactly,
with it,
because then they're going to want something that's special beyond that. And you
More
have
and
to keep
more.
going.
More and more ice cream. More and more ice cream.
Now, did you? Cause I knew what I did when I was courting my wife. I went big way too early. I don't know if you guys did that too.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
tend to do that a little bit.
Yeah, and then it's like, what do you do? Year 3, you're like, oh god, like,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's like G6s are freaking expensive. Like,
Yeah. For sure. It's hard to top it. Yeah.
so yeah, but yeah, they're yeah. So the family life is good. We're lucky enough that now my wife, you know, she works part time now. She helped us build the company, and it was funny. She always wanted to kind of get back into design, and I always had a reason for her to stay. Well, since the merge of my company with the company I'm with now, you know, 36 employees, 4 locations, we're growing. She's like, you know, all those excuses about, oh, I need you. She's like, they're gone.
Yep.
So am I. so yeah, so she left June. Actually, it was a year that
Okay.
she went out and got back into design. And
What
Oh,
kind of
cool.
design? Like
graphic
design or interior
no,
decorating?
Interior. Yeah, she's got an eye for it. So that's what she
Wow.
did in Virginia, and we eventually one day I think we'll have a company. I used to flip homes before the
Okay.
crash, so I see us getting back into that. Maybe a little bit smaller scale than what I was doing. I don't want to get caught like what happened to us. In 08.
Yeah, it's a tough market for that right now. There's a lot of people out. There's a lot of people out there doing it, and the prices are
not right now. So it'll be the next, it'll be in an area like Fort Pierce or, Titusville, something where we're
a little slower paced.
Yeah, exactly. It's but she's really good at that stuff. So she wanted to get back into what she loves. I mean, I love dealing with people. Being in insurance. I don't think anyone grows up saying they want to get into insurance one day. It's like you don't tell your buddy with his bike, you're like, hey man, do you get that thing insured? Because we're going to the other side of the neighborhood and there's some older kids over there and they could steal it.
Yeah.
No one does that.
Sure.
Yeah, but when you get to a certain age and you realize that residual income is a good thing,
Yeah.
it becomes a lot more.
flow.
It becomes a lot more attractive.
It does, and so enjoy just dealing with people, helping people. I've always wanted to educate. My sister's an educator. I've thought about. I was either going to go into insurance full time as start my own company from State Farm, or I was going to open up schools. So that was my fork in the road.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I'll deal with adults and not children.
Yeah.
And it's been good.
So any other plans coming here in the future? Any other future goals that you're maybe short term you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, there's always
everything.
goals.
I mean, I know you're doing the race in December.
You got to finish. This will be your second trifecta with the Spartan races, meaning
Yep.
that you did the 3 like in a year. This will be the second one.
Yeah, this one, I don't really feel like. I think, I think it was funny. One of my VPs said a long time ago. He said, there's a difference between being committed and being involved. And he said that like breakfast, if you had bacon and eggs, the chicken was involved, the pig was committed. And I think this year the trifecta, I've been involved.
Yeah.
That's why I really am looking forward to the 75 hard. I've been working a lot, so I haven't really been able to put my fitness and my races on the where I want
Priority,
them to be.
yeah.
I can tell you when I was into it for those 2.5 years, I mean that's all. Yeah, that's all I did.
Well, you're the one that got me into even introduced me to it, because I think it was right around December at the New Year. I was telling you like, I think I want to do a marathon or something. That's when I started listening to David Goggins, and I hadn't ran any races. And you're like, I'm doing the Spartan mud race thing. And, you should check it out. And it was like the medium one, so it was like 8 miles or something.
Yeah,
so
that's super.
Yeah, so we ended up.
So
you had
since-
signed it up for it, and then I signed up, and then that kind of like sparked everything for me. Now 6 months later, I've got 3 ultras, 2 mud races.
So
I just want to
since
say
you
to
got-
Alex's
since you got
family,
Alex-
I'm sorry.
Since you got Alex into the all the races and stuff like that, you're going to do the 100 miler with him in September.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So my wife's been asking me about that. So the longest, the one that I was really training for, that's probably the craziest, was the Go Ruck. So I was
those
running
are
around with
intense.
a 50. It's supposed to be a 60-pound pack, and you go
Wow.
either 12-hour, 24, or 36-hour. And so I was running around the neighborhood with a pack on for some time. And she's like,
You're crazy with your back, man.
Yeah.
You know
For
that
sure.
your whole back thing really doesn't do
I
well.
mean, if
All
you
that
talk to your
pressure.
orthopedic, the impact of the running with the
I
extra
did not
50
talk
pounds.
to- that's the one thing I did not.
yeah.
I'd have left that one out.
I mean, that counteracts the whole you like staying in shape and losing weight.
It does. It does. So I think that I would love to do a relay.
Okay.
Something where I still got to stay up late, still got to do all that stuff. Do maybe like a 200-mile relay with like 4 people, something like
Ooh,
that.
something crazy. Okay.
Well, there's a Keys one that friends of ours do
Next year, yeah.
where they
Well,
get
just-
in a van and they keep swapping out based on your level of, I guess.
Yeah, even the race that Alex did, I crewed for him
Yeah.
Toxic Trail. There was actually there's a few groups that were doing the relays.
Were they?
Yeah, where people would like jump out of a van and just start running, and the other person would jump in.
Yeah.
and they did the 37 miles as a relay.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
that-
something like that you can kind of make your own race.
Sure.
You can.
sometimes.
I guess the tough thing about that too, though, is you got to keep in mind that once you start to calm down and all of the your adrenaline goes down and all the acids start to find their way into your muscles, it makes it a lot harder to jump out that van the second time.
Yeah, it starts cramping. And yeah.
Yeah, so maybe do a 1-van exit.
Yeah.
Once you're done, you're done.
Yeah, well, some of these, I know the Keys, I think, is point to point, but a lot of them are, some kind of circle trail, where you 3 or 4 mile loop and you just run. I'll let you know. I know there was one in October I was looking at. I think it's the Palms 100, but they got a 100-miler, 50-miler, and then a relay somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I have to let you know.
No, I'm so, and that was a big thing with the 75 hard is that I've always believed it's easier to fast than it is to diet. So just to go all in, to do something like that, and then eventually I can back into more of a balanced workout regimen.
Right.
Because it was. I was definitely going to Golds, and I kind of became that person I always made fun of. That and not made. I shouldn't say made fun of because that's not accurate. The person that I didn't understand, I was just looking like,
what's he doing here?
What are they doing? Are they just checking in? Do they just love the key chain? Just so that when they're at the bar trying to pick up girls, they can. But then part of me got to a place where I'm like, it doesn't matter. They're getting up early. They're in here, even if it helps them just plan their food and their diet over the course of that day. If that's all it does, then it was worth it.
Absolutely.
And I kind of got into that place where I was going in, really didn't have a plan. So now I'm excited to get back in and actually hit it hard because I definitely, the race we did, the sprint, which we did the super together, but then I did the sprint.
Right, different times of it.
Yeah, this is a short race. I'm just going to run through this thing. I was like, wow, I'm out of shape.
A little bit more difficult.
Well, it's something where when you have an expectation of what you can do, and you've done it. I mean, I've probably done. Just in those 3 years, I think I did something like 28 races.
Wow. Mostly obstacle type?
All obstacle.
Yeah, all obstacle.
All obstacle. So South Carolina, Georgia, all through Florida.
Cool.
So I was doing a lot, and at a decent high level. At least maybe every 2 weeks to 3 weeks I was doing a race. So when you go from that to going up a rope and you slip, and then you fall here, and then you're winded, then you can't carry a bucket. You're just like, all right,
Shit.
you have to reevaluate.
Time to start working out again.
Yeah. Or training. There's a difference between working out and training.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very
So
Well, that's the reason why you kind of said when you signed up for the Spartan races before, it like gives you a goal. It's not like, I'm just going to go to the gym and just check in. It's like, okay, well, I'm running 8 miles through obstacles and mud in 6 weeks. I better get my ass in there and work out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Yeah.
And it did. It definitely got me recommitted. However, I still felt like I still have a long way to go to get back.
Sure.
And of course, for some people, it may take a couple years. I'll probably, at the end of the 75 hard, I would imagine
Be back up there where you should be.
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes like those checkpoints to get you to like where you need to be. Because like you said, you can go and you can phone it in at the gym every day.
Yeah.
But then when you're actually trying to reach certain goals and you like get to those goals, like I'm doing the program I'm doing, like I have a weigh-in on July 27th. So like I'm doing everything I can right now to like make sure that I'm eating clean, that I'm working out, that I'm doing cardio, and I'm going to do more cardio tonight and that sort of thing. And I think that to me that kind of challenges me to like, I know there's an end in sight. It's just not like continuous forever.
Yeah.
So I think 75 days I think is a good thing.
And I think it helps when you're following like a schedule almost, because like the guy that sent you everything, it's broke down everything: the food that you need to eat, the amount, the workouts you're doing, morning and night.
Yeah.
Same with the 75 hard; it's just laying it out for you, and you're not even making that decision. Like, oh, should I go like walk a mile? It's like no, like that's in it. Like that's what we're doing.
This is what you have to do.
I think it's
get it done.
It goes a long way if you have something to like you're doing like that.
Well, I think too. What do they say? Like, most people, they set their goals once a year, right? New Year's. So people who are moderately successful, maybe every quarter. Like most companies, okay, we got to figure out go through quarter goals. I had a guy who was at our old finance company that his watch went off every hour, and every hour he sat there and said, "What have I done this last hour to get me closer to my goals?" Now, he was the extreme of the other side of once a year, and when I had a trainer and I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, you want to do what I do and get up every morning 4:30 and go to the gym? Do what I did. For 4.5 years, I had a trainer that we met with every week. And it wasn't until, and I don't know how long it's going to take you. It took me 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. But after 4.5 years, someone every week sitting there, and it was more of I didn't want to let them down. So we're talking about accountability, because if I laid off, he knows me by the pound of what I can lift, like intimately. So it's so, and when you and I started getting into the race, or I started getting into the races again, you for the first time, I didn't have that litmus test, as you had alluded to. So it was a large wake up call, and I think that in life, if you can limit wake up calls and more of just those little litmus tests of, okay, am I on track? Am I on track? It's so much better to determine with your accountant, how you want your financial profile to look like, rather than the IRS call one day. So it's, and that's how I try to live my life. However, it doesn't always work out that way.
That's what we were kind of talking about the other day. One of the other podcasters we were listening to, Jesse Itzler, he was kind of talking similar to the same. Like has 3 or 4 buckets. One's family, one's financial, one's his business, and one's like volunteer. And if throughout his day, if nothing's going into any of those buckets that are pushing it forward to his goals, a happy family life, a successful business, giving time back. If it's not fitting in 4 of those buckets, it's not going in. Yeah, it's not. Wow. It's not happening. So it's similar thing to just laying it out. Like what if the moving closer to your goal, or is it just gonna be another day? Is it just gonna be another Monday, or gonna push you towards what you're going for?
Yeah, and most of us are not disciplined enough to be able to do that on our own.
Sure.
At least not in all parts of our life. I think if it's something that we thoroughly enjoy, it's easier to keep that daily accountability.
Absolutely.
I know for me, fitness was not one of those things prior to me working, getting my trainer. It was Dylan, buddy of mine now. Prior to that, I'd be in the gym for 2 months, out for 4.
Right.
In for 6, out for 3.
Yeah, that's been my MO too.
And for 9, out for 4. It was like this,
Well, you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm good now.
That's how I've been all my life. I don't understand I still can't understand the people that, like my roommate in college, he lived to go to the gym every day. It was like his thing. Like he every day he had to go to the gym, otherwise his day wasn't fulfilled.
Wow.
And it's just, you have to have it. I think you either have that mentality or not.
Or you get accountability.
Yeah.
Because I know. So now it's been about 9 years. In 9 years I have not missed more than 12 days. So there's never been a 12-day period that's gone by that I haven't been in the gym.
That's good.
That's really good.
And for the most part, I'm there every week. And now there's been some times where I'm only in there once or twice during the week, which that's a very slow week. When I was training a lot, I was probably in the gym about 8 times a week, 9 times a week. Those are 4 kids. But I think the consistency really came, having that person. And the first few months, he said I was the slowest person. Let me try to remember what he said. Someone that he knew had worked out before. He said I was the slowest person getting on board. I don't know. Do you use foul language on the podcast?
Yeah. Let it rip.
Okay. So the slowest, because I would cancel, and I wanted to be there early. So of course you cancel on your trainer at 5:30 in the morning. They're not very happy with that. And one day I walked in, and I'm like, I'm paying this guy, and I'm not showing up. I'm not. My integrity is shot. And I'm like, what am I doing? I walked in, I go, Dylan, fuck this. Let's do this. And he goes, thank you. And he said, then I was the fastest person he had ever trained as far as just picking stuff. Because then I was at that point where I was committed. And I don't know if I didn't have someone that was sitting there waiting on me, or someone that I had given my word to that I was going to do something. If that was just internally, I don't know. I probably would be doing the same yo-yo that I did my entire life. There's something when you put it out in the world and you say, look, I'm going to do this, and you know that there's people, especially if you respect them, that are watching and seeing if you're going to do what you said you're going to do. It's a huge motivator, even when you don't want to do it.
Absolutely. When you commit to something and you just say, you know what, I don't want to listen to them. I don't want to hear them say anything negative about me, or I don't want to hear that I didn't do it, when instead of sitting on the couch, I could go out walking, or I could do whatever the case is. Or anything in life. Or just even showing up. That's half of life right there.
Showing up is half of it. It's half of it. How many times, how many times if you do something, you would do something for someone else you wouldn't do for yourself? You know, I mean, I know I'm horrible at it. If I get buddies that call me like, hey man, could you help me out? Man, I'm dropped my keys, I'm gone. But then I need stuff done at my house, and I'm there trying to do it on my own. So I think that most humans, we really, we do want. We want acceptance as a tribe. That's part of it. But we really will do more sometimes for other people than we will ourselves. So how can we use that as a tool? Well, one of them is accountability. You know, I told this person I'm going to do it. They're looking at me, and I know that they believe I can do it. So now I want to raise my bar up to that vision, that expectation they have of me. Same thing with you with the weigh-in. Like, it's not you. You're worried about letting them down. That you're gonna you want to show up and and
I want to prove that the program works.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I get the benefit of the results, but yeah, it's I mean, I don't want to. I don't know. I guess if you look at it that way, like my wife is involved in it. She's kind of pushing me and that sort of thing as well. So like, I don't want to let her down.
That's awesome.
And the other aspects of it, just in general, I don't want to let myself down now that I've kind of gotten into it and I'm like really motivated about it. I just want to keep going and see how far I can go.
And I think it goes back to with being around a trainer, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, is just kind of surrounding yourself with somebody with a positive energy or something you want to look like or have the strength as by surrounding yourself with a trainer that's training all day and has a good physique. I think it goes the same thing on the physical side as business or trying to learn anything, to have that around you, that positive energy, that come on motherfucker, let's go, like that goes a huge way in lifting weights, especially for consistency, to be able to do it, day in and day out. It's good to have.
There's days you don't want to do it.
Yeah. But I've felt like the longer that I've been in the gym, you guys have been in longer than me, just age wise. But I feel like we were talking the other morning, just of having like a morning routine, and like you were kind of mentioning, just like going to the gym and just kind of, just hang your towel up and maybe do a few like tricep pull downs, and maybe a few crunches.
Maybe you get caught on video like doing some weird exercises.
Doing something that you're not supposed to be. But I feel like even just getting in there in the morning and just like, even if you had like to meditate or to clear your mind, just to have that, like we were talking the other morning or the other day about the morning routines, I feel like it goes a good way. So I beat myself up less and less if I can at least just get in there. Like if I go in there, for me, I feel like if I could just go stretch. And my new addiction's the steam room. Hit the steam. Like I feel like I'm not gonna beat myself up too bad because, like it's good for the mind. That even though you're not gonna, it's like I should have done chest, and well, it's not the end of the world. But I do feel a lot clearer and a lot de-stressed from doing my thing.
I was actually thinking about this morning when we were at the gym, and I mean, up until what did we start working out? Beginning of June, sometime around there. I would normally be sleeping till 8 o'clock. And this morning at 7:45, I had already, according to my Apple Watch, I had already burned over 1,500 active calories.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think about like how much I got done and accomplished and how good I feel leading into a day that I can be more productive in, instead of like waking up at 8, like maybe making it to the office by 9:30 or 10. Or whatever the case is, and then just kind of dragging until like noontime, and then just not as productive as I was by doing that.
What about you, Jimmy? As far as morning routines, I mean, I've always seen you in there at 5. Have you always been up an early bird, first one in the office, first one?
No, I had to force myself to do that.
Yeah.
So I used to get in there about 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Still early, yeah.
So I guess I've been always gotten up somewhat early. But then when I started training where I wanted to do 2 hours a day, then I set my alarm over the course of probably took me about 4 or 5 months, 15 minutes. So for 2 weeks, 15 minutes, I just kept going down. And then my wife finally cut me off at 4:30. She goes, "You're not getting up here." So, but I'm with you. I mean, I agree with you 100% because, by the time, and when my thing too is, when I get in there and I'm doing like my slow where I'm just, okay, so maybe I'm doing 30 minutes over here and then the elliptical for 20 minutes, it's still twice as much as what most people are doing in the United States.
Sure.
So we also have to keep that in mind too, that even though maybe we're not pushing ourselves as hard on some days, it's still more than most. But, for me to get in there, I mean, I have to, because of my back, I mean, I've got to get on the bike, get my legs warmed up, stretch out, get where I'm ready. That takes me about half hour, 45 minutes. Then I can go work out, and then I stretch afterwards. So I think everyone should do that. But however, I'm walking around with maybe a 70, 80-year-old's back. I was forced to take that amount of time when I'm in there. But yeah, it'll always be a part of what I do now. Getting up early before everyone's up. It's a mentality thing for me too, where I've always said, even when I was in finance, I said, look, I mentioned it before, that guy's smarter than me, but I'll work twice as many hours.
Yeah.
So me getting up early, I know throughout the day that I've set myself up for success the best that I know how. Got up early, got in the office. I'm the first one in the office. Listen to whatever I'm listening to, get my mind ready, and then I hit it hard. So if my day does go a little sideways, I've already done more by 8, 9 o'clock than most people in my business, because they're sleeping till 8:30.
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
10.
an easy trap to fall into. I mean, it's like, you know what, I don't need to go to the gym today. I'll go tonight, or I'll go at lunchtime or something like that. And I mean, I don't know about in your business, but in my business, and part of this is just me in general, is that I make excuses on, you know what, I really got to go show this property, or I've got to make these calls, or I've got to do this report, or whatever the case is. And it's not that I couldn't make time for the gym. It's that I let that inner voice in my head talk me out of it.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're being productive. It's easy. If that inner voice is something that's, I really haven't seen my kids the amount of time that I want to, the last 3 days. So I'm just going to go home early. I'm going to spend some time with them, which is productive. It's healthy. However, we're not going to be able to pour as much into our family, into our work, if we're not healthy, if we don't feel good, if our bodies aren't able to move and do all the things we need to do. So, getting that knocked out first thing in the morning, and then
it's great.
However the day goes, you take it on.
And it's just a great feeling. Like now, I mean, I'm going back to do some cardio tonight, but my workout's really over. Even if I didn't go back tonight, I've already worked out today, and it's done, it's passed, and I can go on and like you said, spend time with family or do whatever the case is, and I can go home and have dinner with my wife and that type of thing. I don't have to be worrying about going to a crowded gym at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Now, what about self-improvement stuff? I know I saw you at that Tony Robbins event.
Sure.
Do you into any of that
I tried
stuff?
to get Georgie down there for that particular one.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would have gone if it was like a real deal, but I knew it was just a sales pitch. They had Gary Vee and they had Tony and everybody all in one shot. It's just a sales pitch.
Well, the in-betweens were, because they were legit, but it's the breaks. They would talk for an hour, and then you get an hour of sales.
Okay.
Join this, whatever. And,
because I left early, and you said that Tony was phenomenal.
He was.
I literally didn't think he was going to be there with some of the sales stuff that was like in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up doing like the last 5 hours on this, or the last half of the day, or whatever it was. But yeah, he was
awesome.
good. But it's intense.
Have
to
you
be
been
there.
to a UPW?
No. I got a small taste because just when he gets everybody up and dancing come on, he's screaming it. That whole thing. It's this is intense. It's better than the club. Let's go.
The thing is, I think what he's done such a good job of is I don't know if you're familiar with NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and anchoring, stuff like that. So there are certain tools that you can do that are going to anchor certain behaviors and feelings to certain moments. So how I got away from McDonald's, I was a fat kid growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I just was always a big kid, and I went back to whenever we did something good, we got rewarded with McDonald's. So I had a very positive affirmation to the Yellow Arches. So to get away from it is one of the tools that he taught us is anchoring. So every time after his seminar, I'd drive by McDonald's, I'd look at the yellow and I'd pinch, to the point where I had a pretty nasty bruise on my shoulder and was able to kind of push that away. So what he has done is he's saying, look, there's a lot of very scientific things that he does. However, he wants to do in such a way that if you're there for 12, 13 hours a day, 4 days, you're going to need some life breathed into.
Absolutely,
So he really gets into a lot of that stuff. And his fourth day is nutrition. And it's all, he shows you some visuals, some stuff that stick with you, like people that if they're not eating healthy. It's phenomenal the way he does it. And of course, he's got Life Mastery and some of his other stuff, but even just his 4-day seminar, people are like, oh, well, he's like a motivational speaker. I'm like,
So much more.
You need to experience it.
You see, he's coming back to Miami. He's coming again.
Yeah.
I think it's that what you're saying. Is it
Yeah,
UPW?
Unleash the Power Within.
Okay, yeah.
So the funny thing about that is I thought for sure the Walking on Fire was going to be like day 4.
First thing you did?
I'm like, am I in the wrong one? Because I just got here.
I haven't learned the mental
you all
the
look like
mental
you're running around
toughness
like
in order to
crazy
do this.
people. Yeah, so night 1, and you get out there, and it's just massive bonfires. Okay, they have it in this field. And next thing you know, his team is like shoveling like coals and stuff out of the fire, and they come and they start just kind of putting it in. They had this little area. I'm like, this is legit. Like, this is
Real
not,
fire.
Like you
this
walked
is
in like barefoot over fire,
barefoot and hot coals that were pulled out of a dang fire.
and you didn't feel it.
No. So so I had a buddy of mine who I can't remember if it was him or one of the guys in the group that went. And what happens is you get in a state, and he wants you to kind of just put your head up because he doesn't want you to look at it. If you look at it, your brain's gonna then realize what's happening. So you put your head up just a little bit. You walk, not run, to like a nice steady pace. And when you get to the end, there's 2 people that have their hands, and you run into their hands with your chest, and they immediately have a hose, and they rinse your feet off completely. Because what they don't want is coals to stick in the inside of your toes. And then when you come down
Ouch.
out of state, your brain says, oh.
So to prepare for something like that, is it a breathing technique, or is it a mental state that he puts you in, or
all your mental state on how you. Yeah,
Is he like talking on
how
a
you
microphone,
feel
like
it.
I'm going to bring you to this state, and he just goes and
No, he
speaks
teaches
as you
you.
doing
He
it?
teaches you while you're in
While you're
the
right there, right?
course, and then when you go out there,
Oh,
then
okay.
you implement.
Okay.
But a friend of mine came out of state, and he did have one of the hot coals in between his toes. So,
Ooh.
it wasn't too bad. He started hopping around. They sprayed him with the hose again, and so I was not there that trip, but that made me realize, okay, so it's not just I envisioned this, like that truly is hot coals.
Then
And,
you showed me a little article that people were stopping to take selfies doing that, and it was like an issue because
Oh, I believe it.
I thought you might have mentioned. I think I
No.
read that somewhere that people were like, "Oh, I'm going to take us," and then
You come out of state.
yeah, and then it's like your feet are
Yeah,
fried.
apparently they didn't
I mean, I guess
understand the
it makes
whole
sense.
concept.
It's focusing on something, focusing on a task and completing that task, and not letting anything interrupt.
Well, and you look at these, and I think it's in China and different places in the country in the world where these monks, where I don't know if you've seen, where they'll take swords and they'll push into their belly, and it pushes to the point where their belly is going inside, and it's not breaching the skin.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do shows all over the world, or they'll take and they'll have like blades, like 4 blades, and they'll lay the guy on it, and he'll just sit there. And then they'll push stuff and like hit bricks and stuff.
It was like the bed of nails or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Probably.
and it's even. When you see the sword. You see this guy. You can look it up. It's all over the place. You realize very quickly, okay, there's something to this. We always talk about mind over matter, but it's real. To what extent and to how long it takes a person to be able to harness that. But yeah, for me to walk across hot coals, and all I do is look up, and you're supposed to say cold green moss or something like that, and you just cold green moss, cold green, and that's what you do the whole way across. There's something there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, what was the rest of the 3 days like?
After that, I would go home.
Yeah,
It was
right?
easy
Like
after
that.
that.
Yeah, mission
I got an
accomplished
A.
here.
But no, it was good. It was 3 days of just learning how, and one of the things, and I've done this exercise since then at another seminar that I went to, that they put you, because so many times we're focused about how good it's going to be, our goals, and I just got 2 of my 3 goals I had for the year I just checked off, and 2 of them are pretty big, and 1 I'm hoping to get done by the end of the year. So we're always looking at those positive things. And one of the things that he has you do is really think about, what is the worst thing if you don't do this? What is the worst thing? And he takes you to this dark place. There's people crying. I mean,
Sure.
it gets dark, and it's, you're homeless. You got your kids looking up at you, and you can't provide, and he just gets you to this place where, is that really what you want? Because we move towards pleasure or away from pain, and we have to live this world too, make that a reality. We say, no, I do not want that. This is such a better option. And so yeah, there was some pretty interesting moments when he took us there. Like I said, there was people crying. One woman screamed out. I mean,
Well, that's like his thing. Like he did the documentary on Netflix, and he's just like he's reading your mind. He's like he's a master of reading everything. He just would pick people out of the audience and tell me what your issue is, and she would say something, and he'd be like, no. This is like what's really going on, and dig deeper and and it's just, I mean, he's a master of his craft for sure. He's,
Like I've used it in the past, like in business. He has. Are you familiar with what a DISC test is?
Desk, yeah.
It's like your personality test.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah, there's.
So he has his own version. He has his 2 versions that he offers on his website for free. So we've used those in the past, and it's amazing how accurate those, like, just the stuff that he puts into the questions and stuff like that, how they can determine how someone's going to really behave.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, and I think one of the things that he did, so there was a woman who had flown over from England, and she had been raped multiple times by a family member when she was very young. And, I'd said before, I wasn't going to allow my fall to be my identity. That's a part of me. It's not going to make up who I am as a human being. And this woman, rightfully so, this is her identity, was this young girl that had been raped, and severe depression, all kinds of problems, trust issues. And he's talking to her, and she's like, oh, this is, and he goes, whatever. And so, and she's, I mean, think about it, like, she's got this serious thing that whenever she tells other people about it, they're like, oh my God, and they would actually react in such a different way, where he's like, that's not your problem. Okay, so what's your problem? Like what you're talking about. And he got to a point with her, and he said, look, you understand that our cells, regenerate every 7 years. So every 7 years, you're completely physically, you're a different human than you were 7 years ago, because it takes that long for every one of our cells to regenerate. So that physical person that you speak of, that's not even the same person. The only thing that is still here with you now is your memories and how you decide to use them. So if you want to keep reliving that, then yeah, that's on you. He goes, I don't even blame that person who did that to you anymore, because that wasn't even the same person. You're doing this to yourself now. So now you have a choice. Are you going to continue to relive this and put your body through this for the rest of your life, or are you going to allow that to die with the cells that died, years ago? By the end, you saw her, like, she, you could see, like, I mean, just, and even when they're panning around, I would see her from time to time. They wouldn't be focused on her or highlighting her specifically, but it was so impactful to me. I'd look for her from time to time when they're panning, and she, completely different human being.
Oh, cool.
wow.
And
I guess it's all perspective. It's how you look at things, and how you. I mean,
Yeah.
you either have to keep things bottled up and you end up like that, or you let things go and you become a new person.
Excuses, they're real. I mean, it's not. I mean, if buddies of mine say, "Hey, man, do you want to?" I'm huge into free diving. I love scuba diving. And someone's like, "Oh, we're going to go down to the Keys and we're going to go, free dive for 3 days." I could literally say, "Hey, man, with my back, that's not really good for me." That. It's excuses are real.
Sure.
Yeah.
We just have a choice if we want to use them or not, or what excuses we want to use, which ones we don't. So I agree. It's your perspective and how you identify with that and what choices you want to make. Say, forget that. That's, I'm not going to allow that to run my life anymore. Or, look, I mean, people aren't depressed. They do depression. Like,
Sure.
they choose, a lot of them, to do it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's not just like you were saying, like, not just a motivational speaker. Like, it's on so many levels of how he can help. It's not like rah, like, okay, you're going to seize the day. It's like, I'm going to help you out of this dark, deep spot that you're ruining your life in. It's good stuff.
It all comes back to the books. I mean, he read his first was he read something like I think he was reading like 900 books in 4 years or something like that.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a huge amount of books, and so just like Michael Jordan, they said Michael Jordan's like sensory acuity was like, off the charts. He could dribble the basketball down, and just by the movement of the other players, he could see the play develop. That's sensory acuity. So for him to look at a human being and how they're acting and their body posture and everything, he's seen it so much. He knows exactly what's happening. He doesn't know what's the core reason for why they're doing depression, but he's like, oh, okay, I've seen this 1,000 times.
Sure.
It's just a different variation of
Different
it.
variation. So, but it's it's just how much time are you willing to spend on a subject, on a task, to get to that point. That's mastery.
Yeah, it was. I heard a clip. Grant Cardone, the other motivational / real estate tycoon guy, he was talking about depression in a way that he kind of put it almost like the way that people are depressed, not so much for something. Obviously, you have people that are depressed that serious life matters that might have happened, but a lot of people are just depressed because they're not doing what they can do, and they're noticing that every day. Kind of like your excuses, like, oh, I'll just go to the gym later, and I'll diet on Monday, and that just accumulates, and you realize, because I think how he explaining it is like we all know that our true potential, or at least have a taste of it, and you're not living that every day. That just depression just eats at you and eats and just snowballs. It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Oh yeah, we've been down that road for sure.
I mean, how many times, and like all the stuff you're doing right now, like how much weight have you lost so far with this whole thing?
I mean, it's only my first weigh-in was only after 8 days, but I lost 7 pounds.
Wow.
And that's drinking over a gallon of water a day, so that's should be pretty much actual weight, not water weight.
So do you have a goal? Anything you're hoping for on this next
Big
weekend?
goals. Big goals, baby.
I'm actually going on a trip to Italy, August 20th. So my goal is to be down 50 pounds by the time I go to Italy.
Okay. So huge. That's awesome. So what's the first thing? What do people say? Well, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
Ate healthier. Went to the gym. Made sure my water intake was acceptable level. So like you said, we know what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But and look, and there's times that when I eat a burger, I enjoy the shit out of it. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I deserve this. So if someone's looking at me and I'm eating that medium rare burger, the French fries, and I get a look from the other side of the room, I'm like, yeah,
It's delicious.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's when you weren't supposed to be eating it.
Yeah.
And, you got the
Yeah.
styrofoam up, and you're not really want anyone
You're hiding
to
in
see
your
it.
car
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah. So
I even heard there was a study based on that. They were making the comparison of eating a McDonald's in your car and the way it digests in your body, or eating McDonald's on a yacht in the Bahamas while you're fishing with your buddies. Like the way it digests when you're happy and you're just
Totally
just
agree
having a
with
good
that.
time.
Totally.
It's just the way your body's a crazy vessel.
we have no clue how it all
No,
works.
man,
We're
it's a
just trying
trip.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
A lot of that, like it's eating your car is probably stress eating on top of it because you're rushing from one appointment to another, or trying to eat something before you get back to the office, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
true.
And, but yeah, so well, I think maybe we'll wrap this up here. I know, Jimmy, you got an appointment coming up here to plan your trip.
Costa
So-
Rica.
Getaway,
baby.
yeah. We'll have to have you back
So-
on so you can catch us up on the 75 hard.
Yeah.
You have to come back and share your experience about that for sure.
Yeah, we were going to go to the Dominican, but that's a different type of hard
Oh,
experience.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
decided,
yeah.
we weren't
Don't
gonna do
challenge yourself
one.
that much.
That's a challenge we were not ready for.
No, you don't want to.
You already had
on.
some challenging times in your life. You don't need
Yeah.
you don't need that one.
Yeah, and that is the funny thing too. You look back at life, it's like, wait, how much of this? I don't know if you ever watched the
Self-inflicted.
movie, the Matrix,
Oh, yeah.
and Neo knocks over things. She goes, the thing that's going to cook your noodle later is what if I didn't mention the vase? So I
Yeah.
wonder when I look back, okay, how much of this was self-inflicted? People are like, oh, you got a great story, but how did you get into all that stuff? And but no, I think that some of it is self-inflicted in life,
Yeah,
and some of
sure.
it's just life. But we decided not to go to the Dominican, so that was
Smart
not going to
move.
be a
Smart move.
self-inflicted.
Where are you going
Yeah.
to Costa?
So we fly into Liberia, and then we go into Los
Tamarindo?
Los
Los Sueños.
Sueños. Yeah.
Nice.
So it should be fun. I've never been, so
Yeah, I went a few years ago. Went fishing,
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and we went to Tamarindo. But great if you're a fisherman. Great fishing.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely so
Great fishing.
Yeah,
Tuna or Lake Bonita here.
can't wait. Well, and the thing is, the reason we definitely made it happen. I mean, that's the thing. You can have kids and a life. So we are not bringing the kids on this trip. And
Lucky.
yeah, well, you got to do both. I mean,
Yeah.
if the family unit, if me and my wife are not in a good place, nobody's going to be in a good
Sure.
place.
They
So-
feel it.
Very
The kids
true.
will feel it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they feel it.
Absolutely.
So we'll. The good thing about this trip, I think I told you, is that between the chef and staff, like we have a full staff waiting on us. He's like, well, tonight we're just going to make sure that Lewis knows what different excursions we want to go on. I'm like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I told him too. I'm like, is there going to be like a Costa Rica 2? Like, is this going to be like an annual event?
Yeah, every year, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
man.
well, thank you for coming. It's
Yeah.
sharing your story with us. It's,
Absolutely.
it's been a great talk, and so like Alex said, we'll have you back again, and we'll talk about some of your more
75
adventures.
hard.
Yeah. Well, remember, me and George are starting the 30-day breathing challenge. So I know you're in and out of town, but if you're in the gym, come join us. Check us out.
Okay.
We're also going to be
Yes.
posting it on YouTube and our social media.
It's only a 20-minute session.
Okay.
a little 20
So
minute
it
break
goes
from
by quick.
5 to 5:20. Anybody else out there in the local area, come out and join us. Post your results.
Absolutely.
Let us know your experience.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in for us. Please tag us or share this with all your friends. And remember to follow us on our social media and our YouTube page at Elevated Lifestyle Lab. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.